So memory and time travel and all of this very, very core aspects of the book. I was curious, how do you, in your opinion, how do memories serve us?
Yeah, so in the novel, people can travel back in time to moments from their past. And it's more than just like a nostalgia of digging into a memory. I think memory is so fascinating. I love like the sweet pain of going into a memory and not really being able to really be there. I think it's fascinating how like living a memory is, how it can change based on what's happened to you, or how you've matured or come to see something differently. Yeah, I don't think I have anything like especially profound to say, except that to me, memories are so charged. And I think that's why I wanted to write about that feeling.
Definitely. There's because I felt I never, for me, at least me personally, because I've read a lot of time travel stuff and I've watched a lot of time travel stuff. This particular book, like, it didn't feel like time travel in the same sense of all those other stories. It feels more um like focused, uh traversing like back into the recesses of your mind,
Yes.
sort of stuff. Although it, of course, there's like nuance and other aspects to it, but I thought that it was an interesting way of going about it. I definitely like, in most stories, I when I read most stories, I get inspired, and this novel definitely caused me to think about time travel differently, and think about, yeah, different ways of coming across it, because we're so used to the time travel formula. It's even made its way to, AAA blockbuster millions movies. That it's important to sort of like look at different ways to spin it or different ways to approach it, which I think that the novel does a very good job of doing.
Thank you.
uh
Thank
I was curious though, Time's Mouth, where did that name, where did that title come from?
Okay, well, first of all, I have read some time travel and seen time travel movies, but I felt like a newbie. So I think that's why I went towards a time travel that was not as expected, because I didn't feel like I was so steeped in the tradition, and I felt like a fraud a little bit. um and the title, oh my god, this book, some books are just titled from the beginning, and some like do not have a title until like the end. And this book for a while was called like a billion different things. At one point it was called The Accumulators, which doesn't make sense. There is something called the Orgone Accumulator in the
Right.
book. Like, from if you're just looking at the bookstore, you're like, what is an accumulator? How can they be pluralized? And then at some point I used the phrase and I was like, that's really, I like that. And I knew like some people love the title, some people hate the title, but I'm sort of like, I don't care. It has to be the title. It just felt right because the book is narrated by this sort of omniscient global intelligence that's like the mouth of time, the keeper of time. And so that fit for that. There's all this sort of the imagery of the book of when they go back in time feels very bodily. And I think it does kind of work as like a vagina metaphor. Not that it's a vaginal book, but like if you think about like babies being born out of a particular, they are born out of time's mouth. And I thought that was sort of fun, especially since I have an
Interesting.
all-female cult and there is a
Right.
lot of like female bodily driven phrasing. And I kind of liked even the thing that worked against it, which is like when you hear it, you're like, what is that? What's the title? But I think for me, it gets a little bit at like what's weird about the book. And so you're not going to get your typical time travel story. You're not going to get your typical like literary fiction. It kind of is like defying what you might expect. And so I like it for that reason. But
Cool.
man, oh man, it was not like I knew what it was going to be called from the beginning.
No, I've been there. I get that. It's a very generational saga, though. I do like the just how it's a book about time, and time doesn't really have a regular flow to it. Like, years can pass between paragraphs, but at the same
Yeah.
time, like, seconds can pass. I love the just waviness of time.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Of course. I do want to. I am curious. You mentioned that you're writing another book. Is that what's next for you?
Yes, I have two books that I am thinking about. One I'm, more actively working at. The other one is going to take research because it's more historical, which
You're not a
I'm,
fan of.
yes, I don't, well, typically I don't do research, but I'm have an idea that's a historical book that I have to do research in. So, and that's kind of exciting to me because I've never worked that way. So I'm trying to write this historical book that's about a mother, you know, you know, as quickly as I can, which is not quickly. And then at some point I would like to try to kind of be working on them at the same time, but I'm trying to get as much of the contemporary one drafted before I switch my gaze to the other one.
Well, you definitely caught my interest.
Thank you.
um, and lastly, I wanted to ask, for all the individuals, because this is a university sort of like connected program thing. What do you have anything that you would like to say to anyone that wants to be a future writer or has dreams of that sort of career, that sort of hobby, or anything like that?
Yeah. I would just say keep going. Even if somebody says no, keep going. Um, you can't be a writer if you're not reading. So really finding the books that speak to you and trying to read different kinds of stuff and trying to be finding a writing community, finding other readers. I think all those are really important in terms of like finding your voice, finding your people, your readers, and just to keep going. And I don't know, writing has like enlivened and enriched my life beyond anything. Like it just gives my life this other dimension that makes, like, if I'm not writing, I always joke when I'm not writing, everything just feels like errands. Like I'm just
Yeah,
running endless errands. But if I'm writing, the errands suddenly are filled with this other plane of, interest. And so I hope that anyone who likes to write kind of nurtures that because it can really like make your life sparkle in this way that people who don't write maybe don't understand. So
definitely.
yeah.
Well, Eden Lepucki, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was fun.
Time's Mouth, great book,
Thank you.
of course.